Chapter 19. The factory gates were behind him now, and he walked along the roadside feeling good with his shirt open. A soft breeze cooling his body, and the late afternoon sun warming his back. Having made a plan, he felt hopeful. Pushed back his shoulders, walking straight and steady. He would be back tomorrow, he decided, kill room or not. He would be back to prove John wrong. He also planned to save money for a bus ticket somewhere. 4 or 5 weeks' wages would do, he guessed, enough to get out of Rockhampton, enough to move on alone. While smiling and thinking about his new chosen path, 2 boys suddenly ran past him, scampering down a dirt slope and disappearing into the trees. He watched them. Then 2 more did the same. He walked on, seeing police cars, trucks and ambulances, scuba diving equipment and snorkels on the path. Through the trees he heard voices. More people were heading towards the Fitzroy River. He remembered then how Dickie had once told him about the slaughterhouse, how it pumps out blood into the river at night, attracting sharks and crocodiles. After that, Anders visited the river often, but he never saw a thing, not even a newt. Maybe this is my chance, he thought, wading through high grass towards the dirt slope, following the yelling voices, then falling, sledging on his bottom, rolling through nettles and bamboo. He got up, laughing, still excited about seeing a crocodile or a bull shark. Passing quickly through soft mud and thick weeds, stepping over fallen branches, then turning sideways and shuffling through bushes, feeling softer ground with his feet, seeing its sooty black sand beneath him. He heard angry voices. He looked up, seeing police officers forming a human chain, blocking the advancing public, and more officers putting yellow tape around trees, sectioning off the river behind them. Babs was there too, looking hysterical, crying into the arms of a white-haired police officer with tanned skin, her feeble fists drumming on his back.
"No!" she screamed. "I want to see! Let me through!"
The public stopped yelling at the officers for a moment now, gasping, oohing, ahhing, watching as something floated about on the dark green water, something big and fleshy. 2 divers swam either side of it, shaded by a canopy of trees.
"Everyone back off!"
a voice said into a speakerphone. But the public advanced towards the river, charging almost, with those further behind pushing the other ones forward. Some people fell on the sand, while others moved over them. The officers held their line, ordering the people back, shouting and pointing with their fingers, some with speakerphones in hand.
"This is a crime scene," they yelled. "Move back! Move back! Move back! This is a crime scene!"
Babs continued to spill tears, and the public moved for her, forming a path, while she repeatedly rubbed her eyes with her fingers, rubbing them vigorously, as though trying to rub them away, as though seeing was believing, and she didn't want to believe.
"She's with me,"
the white-haired officer said, but the path was already closing around him, absorbing him from all sides.
"Let me through!"
He pushed with his body, stumbling, flapping his arms, and making slow progress, like a man wading through treacle.
"Idiots!"
He sunk further into them, stuck, squished-faced wedged between 2 round bellies. He kept pushing and reaching out, feeling blindly for Babs' cardigan.
"I'm with her!"
Anders was climbing a tree and shuffling along branches. He patted leaves away from his face, and from there he saw Babs, stooping underneath the yellow tape, running to the river, screaming, hands clasping her mouth, tears streaming down her wrinkled face.
"Is it him?"
said, her skin tightening, turning a dull grey colour.
"Is it?"
The white-haired officer was staggering behind her, his shirt hanging over his pants, open and ripped and missing buttons. Suddenly he paused. He did exactly what everyone else was doing. He watched the water and the floating body. Anders was watching too. He thought he recognised the body, but he wasn't sure. The face had changed since he'd last seen it. The skin was blue. The eyes were bulging. He just couldn't tell, especially with all the river creatures feeding on it. He climbed higher, but the divers kept blocking his view, pulling closer to the bloated body in their dinghy, reaching into the water for it, taking it by its arms and feet, tugging, heaving it into the dinghy with them. Another diver swam by with a rope, pulling them in towards the riverbank. He stood waving to paramedics in green uniforms. Babs followed them into the river, lifting her dress and showing varicose-veined legs. Her eyes were the colour of ash, all red around the edges. She dropped tear-sodden tissues in the water, then fell against a large rock, still crying.
"Why?"
she said, staring at the divers.
Why is he so blue?